Hi guys, this is Sam. If you haven't been to my channel, then you probably don't know who I am, or you heard of me, or you just clicked on it. For those of you who do know who I am, I have been absent from YouTube for about 3 years. I posted something recently that was just a quick video to put up. My name is Sam Pinkoff. I used to be really big on social media. Like I was in the group with a bunch of people who are now in the millions of followers category. I had 175, 77K, and I was getting 20 to 22,000 likes per photo, and then it started going downhill because of a lot of things, which is why I made this video to explain everything that kind of got me to where I am now and that prohibited me from being able to post on Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube. So, welcome to my new subscribers. Welcome back to everyone else that has been subscribed to me for a long time. Thank you so much for always being here, and I hope that you will stay here because I am back on YouTube. I'm just going to kind of get into this. So for everyone who watched my YouTube years ago, you would know that I was in a relationship for 2 years to this person, which I cannot name names because of like maybe legal issues. I don't want them to um, get bashed or anything bad come from this. But those who were on my YouTube and my Instagram and kind of followed me for a while know who I'm talking about. So I met this kid back when I was in ninth grade or maybe 10th grade. I was in 10th grade, and I was on Facebook, and it was when Facebook was like a big thing, and I was just scrolling through adding people to this new city that I was going to be moving to, which is about 20 minutes from where I was currently living. So I was just adding people, and then I get a message from this person, kind of just like flirting on and off, and then I go down later on after like getting to know him a little more. I go down to that area and we meet. And he initially had told me he was 17 and he was 15 and I was 17. It's not really a big deal because it's only a big deal if your parents care and other things are happening. We were just talking, and then high school came, and the first week in high school, at the same high school, he asked me out, and I said yes, and I made him re-ask me because like it was like a weird way he asked me, and it wasn't like I remade him ask me like forcefully, like it was like a playful thing. But before we were dating in the summertime, we were like a thing for like 2 to 3 months, and we were best friends on and off, and I was just kind of like trying to build trust with him before I went any further than that. And that didn't really go so well because every time we were a thing and we would fight, I would find that he did something while we were fighting to make it hard for me to trust him. So, one example is that 4th of July, before we started dating in the summertime, when I was still moving and getting to know people in that area that I was moving to, I was supposed to I was with friends at the beach, and he came over, and it was just really awkward because none of the people I was with knew him, and then he kind of just felt out of place and he walked away. And then later on that night, I went to go find him during like the fireworks and whatnot, and I'm on Vine and I see that this girl posted a video, and like it was like a kissing sound in the background and like a comment with like the name, and it was him. And I kind of like freaked out, and I went up there and I just said like, I'm so done, like I thought you were different. And then he like screamed something rude like, oh, she was better anyways. And then he saw that I wasn't gonna have that, so I just walked away. And then he obviously was like, no, I'm sorry, I didn't mean that, I just didn't know what to do, you were yelling at me in front of people, blah blah blah. So that happened, and then school came, and then we weren't friends since then, and then we saw each other, and it was just kind of like, let's start talking again. And then everything was pretty good for the first couple of months of us dating. He was in ninth grade. I was going into 11th grade at that school. Um, we didn't have rules at this point. It sounds crazy, but like I had my friends, he had his friends. We did our own thing when we wanted on the weekend. We met up when we were gonna hang out. I would go to like EDM concerts and he'd be hanging out with friends. And then it started the time that I went to an EDM concert. He was out with another girl. Um, he kissed like another girl from the school who he claimed he had no contact with. And I didn't find this out until 4 months later. But looking back, it's just kind of like bottles my mind. Um, but like that's where the first scenario started. I have like a whole book written down, like a list of like things to remember, just because my story and my side didn't get to come out. He kind of said his side to the entire school, and I'll get into that at the end. And I didn't get the chance to because I was no longer in high school afterward. So the next part is um, I went out of town to go visit family in Kansas. Okay, so my mom's side. And I'm out of town and I go on Twitter and I see this picture of these girls from another high school in the city that I was at in his room with his LED lights in the background in his bed. And I'm just like, what the hell? So I text him and I kind of just go off, crazy girlfriend mode, you know? It's kind of like that whenever any girl gets lied to by their boyfriend, just kind of go off. It's not like I was assuming, like there was a clear picture of his room, him in the background, and a bunch of girls in there. And I'm sitting there like, am I stupid or like what the hell is going on? And I text him and I'm going off and he ends up saying, we didn't do anything, like I know that's my room, I'm sorry. He ended up having them leave and then running outside, somehow on the phone with me crying, saying he left his house, he needs me to stay with him. And I'm stupid, so I stay with them. I forgive him, point blank. That happens almost every time he does something wrong to me. So the next thing is that he starts yelling at me like very derogatory words, making me feel less of myself. Um, he kind of just wasn't the guy that I initially was dating. So he would call me names, he would lie to me and then think that I wouldn't find out and then make me feel stupid when he was the one actually doing something and I would accuse him of it. He would say that he didn't, but then he was actually doing that. Um, it got to the point where it started affecting my family. So, like, we made YouTube videos all the time, and at first, my family and me and him were all good, and like, he came off as like a good person. He introduced himself, he was acting like he was like all this like innocent guy in front of my family. And then it got to the point where my dad just realized he wasn't good for me and he wasn't treating me the way I should have been treated. And then I have my dad like engaged to somebody, and that person's daughter was like my closest friend before our parents met, and like she was my best friend for like 3 to 4 years straight. And she kind of noticed what was happening too and didn't really support the fact that I was with him. So I kind of just disregarded everyone's observations on our relationship because I was just in this like, oh, I'm so in love error, and I just didn't really care about what anyone said. So I started like ignoring everyone, and then I kind of just pushed them out. So I kind of like lost my family and friends from that, and then I had friends while I was friends with him who didn't want to hang out with me anymore because I made everything about him. I was just like, okay, well, if we're going to go out, he's going to come along with, or I can't go out with you because I'm going to be with him, or I can't go out with you because like he's going to think like I'm doing something wrong, or he's going to get mad if I even ask to go out with someone. So it got to the point where it was just not okay to be out with anyone besides him. So I lost all my friends. They didn't like the fact that I let a boy come between my friendships, that I was letting him tell me what to do. My family and me just didn't really talk as much anymore. They would eat dinner and like I would be in my room waiting, and then I would go down to get food. And then it got to the point where they would not even tell me they were like dinner was ready or anything, or that they were eating dinner. And then I would just go down and dinner was in the microwave for me, or I just make something myself. And it's not their fault, it's mine, because I kind of made it to the point where I wasn't going to be a part of the family. I was just in the house, in my room, on FaceTime, not a part of the family. So the next thing I have that um, my social media was affected. So in the beginning of the relationship, we were on Facebook. Like, it was like the main thing when you were like popping on Facebook or whatever. And I he fell asleep on my sister's bed. Like, we were all hanging out, and he just like was sleeping on her bed, and we were all just like hanging out. Not my sister, but like she's considered my sister or my stepsister, but our parents aren't married yet. So he would like fell asleep, and we were all just hanging out in the room. And I remember grabbing his phone, and I was just like, "Oh, look, Facebook." Like, I didn't think anything of it. I was just going on, like I did not trust him because we had been good for a little bit. But then I saw like this message from another girl, and he was calling her like, princess. He was just like, "Hey, princess," and I was just like, "What the fuck?" Because he started calling me that, and I was just like, "All right, this word is no longer special." I shoved him, and I got up, and I was just like, "Get the out of my house right now." He was like confused. I'm like, "I saw your Facebook messages. You're a liar." I just shoved him out and like locked him. And he would just sit there crying for a little. And the same old routine. I took him back as soon as possible. What was that, like a week later? No. It was like a few hours later. Maybe even the next day. Doesn't really matter, but it all happened over and over. So my social media got affected because I made him delete his Facebook at the time because it was happening so often that I just didn't think he was able to be trusted with any type of social media. So then my social media came in account because um, he told me I was like at 160, 170K, that if he couldn't have anything, then I couldn't. So at this point, we both had Instagrams, and I had got him up to like 20K by posting all of our pictures together and tagging him because he had no followers before that. And he told me to make our account, if he was going to delete his, into a couple's account. So I changed it to Samm Pinkoff and his name. And I kind of just made it into that and only posted our pictures. And then it got to the point where I was losing followers. I was 10,000 less likes than I used to get. My social media came into play also because after a while of that happening, he didn't want me having it at all because he wasn't allowed to have any social medias either. So he told me to delete it completely, and this is where I lied for the first time. I didn't delete my account because I worked so hard to get all my supporters and followers to be where they are on my page today. I helped so many of them out with self-harm, suicide, abuse, feeling lonely, just not feeling in place in society. And he wanted me to just delete my Instagram, and all these people who had someone to go to or to relate to were just going to be gone. And to me, that only doesn't affect me, but it affects you guys. So I was just kind of like, what the heck? So at the same time, I was really into him, so I didn't want anything to happen or to our relationship to like just be gone because I wouldn't delete an account, because to him it was just an account over him. So instead of deleting my account, I made the name the same, and I acted as if there was a fan controlling the account. So they would only post old photos of me over and over. That way I didn't stop posting, but I wasn't posting new photos, because if I posted a new photo, he would be like, "Where did that come from? It's obviously still your account." He caught on. I just would deny it all the time. The next part of my notes that I'm saying is that one time we were making a YouTube video, and we got to this big fight because he doesn't like to act like how he is on camera in person. He's completely different. So when the camera's off, it's like, why the hell did we make a video about that? I don't even want to make him anymore. Got into a fight, and we had this like fake blood from Party City, and I kind of just grabbed it. It spilled on the floor, and he got like extremely pissed off. So he kind of just like ran to like the front of my gate area and sat at the bench, saying he was going to get his mom to pick him up or something. And I was like crying because even though I didn't do anything wrong and he was mad, it kind of just made me feel like it was my fault for whatever I did. So this is where my stupidity comes into play. I literally bribed him to stay with me, like, and he was okay with it. So every time we would fight and it was his fault, and I didn't want him to leave because I was so in this like love error, I just like bribed him. Do you want to go get food? Do you want me to buy you this? Do you want me to take you here? What can I do for you to stay with me? So it got to the point where I bribed him initially with a Mac computer, and I had no money, so I was using my PayPal credit, which they give you like a $1,800 credit on there, and he accepted the Mac, and we went to buy him a Mac, and everything was like dandy, perfect, rainbows, fine. And then he didn't want the Mac, so we switched it out for something called On iBuyPower, which is a gaming console for like Windows and stuff like that. And this was a $1,700 console that I ordered him and he got, and he still has it to this day. And I bought that for him just for him to stay with me, and little did I know it wasn't worth anything for me to bribe him to stay with me. So the next thing on my notes that I have is that it got to the point where he was physically and mentally abusing me. So on camera and on Instagram, everything was dandy and it looked all perfect. Behind closed doors, it was horrible. Like, he was this person that just ended up having anger issues and like always wanting to put it out on me or something. So first it started with mental things like you're a whore, you're a slut for doing absolutely nothing but maybe having a friend. He called me a whore because I was friends with my sister, who he claimed was the sluttiest girl ever, who only fucks everyone she meets. So he went and talked bad about her, and because I was friends with her, that made me a bad person and made me the same thing. If I hang out with her, that makes me that. He would say that if I hang out with her, she's just gonna go introduce me to guys, and we're not gonna just be us hanging out. That she, every time I went with her, she would introduce me to someone new, and we'd be hanging around guys. So he would call her things. He would call my dad names. He threatened to kill my dad, and he also threatened to slit her throat, the girl that is my sister. To this day, they are friends. They have hung out. My family and him have posted pictures together. Why? It doesn't really matter, but it's just kind of crazy to think that someone could be so against me with somebody who was mentally and abusing me, but then when we're done 2 years later, you go and hang out with that same person you tried to warn me about, who threatened to slit your throat. I don't know why anyone would do that, but they did. So then it got to the point where cheating and lying came into play. I paid for everything. He went on this baseball trip towards the end of our like relationship, and he went to Fort Myers. And at the time, I didn't really know where that was. I didn't really look it up. I wasn't really into like places. I just knew he was going on a trip with like his sports team. And he went and he comes back and tells me, hey, I got hit by this girl from Tilted Kill in her yellow Camaro in the parking lot. Do I know if that ever happened? Not sure. But for you to come back and tell me that you cheated on me and exactly what happened, it doesn't make sense to me. So I'm still with him after that happens. Mostly you can say, yes, it's my fault for staying with someone so stupid, but unless you've been in a position where you're in a relationship with someone who you made your world and no one else, you have nobody else because everyone you pushed out, then you have no idea what it's like to stay with someone and like not be able to leave, because I really could not leave. We weren't at that point allowed to go anywhere in public. It got a little bit sketchy. I wasn't allowed to go with him to the movies, certain movie theaters, because certain people would see us. I didn't know that's why we weren't allowed to go, but I figured that out later on, that he didn't want to go to certain spots because certain people would see us. After I graduated high school, it was summertime, and in, let's say summertime's over, August hits, and it's the first day of high school, which is his birthday, and I sent him a birthday message, and we're still dating, and he tells me he's going to this alternative school. So the reason why he's going to this alternative school is because the year before, my senior year, it was prom time, and we broke up for like a week because we're always breaking up. And he asked me to come downstairs from my classroom, and it was EOC testing, so end of the year exam testing was going on. So every room was quiet. There was blindfolds over the doors. It was pitch black. It was like quiet. And he calls me to come down, and he asked me, "Did you go to prom?" And I was like, I was kind of just like smiling sarcastically, being like a dick because like he broke up with me. And did you go to prom? What do you mean? Am I gonna miss my prom because you wanted to break up with me? And mind you, when we were dating, he told me he wasn't gonna go to prom with me because it's not his thing. But let's just ruin my prom because it's not his thing. You would think a boyfriend you've been with for 2 years would want to go with you regardless because it's your prom year. So I kind of just smirk at him and smile for a little bit, and then he's like, "Did you go to prom?" And I was like, "Yeah." And he was like, "What the fuck?" And I was like, "I went with my sister and her friends. I didn't go with any guy. I was just with girls." And he like got his fist and started punching the hell out of these vending machines with like cages and like wire in between them, and his like hands started bleeding. And I was just like, all right, well, I'm not going to be here to get in trouble. I don't get in trouble. That's not my thing. I'm going back to class. So I started walking up, and he pulls my arm and he turns me around. "Where do you think you're going? You're not going anywhere while we're fighting like this." I'm like, whoa, okay. So I just keep walking while he's yanking on my arm. I open my door to get into my class, and mind you, everyone's in there quiet, right? I get in, and he screams out, "Fuck you, you fucking cunt." Everyone in the classroom is staring at me. And um, he closes the door, and throughout the whole hallway is screaming. Then I get a text from somebody saying that he was in the front office. And I was like, "What happened? Tell me." They were like, he started screaming, "I gave her 2 years of my life, and she cheated on me because she went to prom. I don't care what she did or who she was with. It's cheating no matter what. I gave her 2 years. Fuck this. Fuck her." And he's crying, "I don't want my life without her." And like the principals had to tackle him down, bring him in, calm him down. And he got sent to another school. Which brings me to my year out of high school and his first year going into 11th grade. So he tells me he's at the school that he was sent to, the alternative school, which is an online computer school. You go for a few hours because you're trying to get your credits back. So I text him, and I'm just like, "Happy birthday, blah, blah, blah." Simple birthday text. And I get a text from these girls that I was friends with that I told you I lost, but I was still kind of like okay with throughout the years, saying like, "He's here. I don't know why he said he was in another school, but he's here." And I'm just like, "That's impossible. Like, he told me he's not in that school right now." And I'm like, "Can you show me?" And they sent me a picture, and he's clearly in the school he said he was not in. And I'm just kind of at this point over how many lies and how much I've gone through with this kid. So I text him, and I'm freaking out, and he's saying, "Why would you believe any of these people, blah, blah." I'm like, "I have a picture, you're a liar." He's like, "Oh, I didn't want to tell you because you would freak out thinking I'm cheating and whatnot." But then I go online, and I see these girls posting pictures on Instagram with him, and I'm just like, "What's this?" And he was like, "I don't know those girls. I just walked in, and they asked, and my friend asked me to get in the picture with them, the guy friend, and they just got a picture with me." And I'm like, "No way." So I write these girls saying like, "Stay away from my boyfriend," and they screenshot it and send it to him as if this is some big joke. Like suddenly, like I'm a liar, that I'm pretending like I'm dating this kid when I'm not, and I'm just kind of confused at this point. So I find out that he's been going around to a bunch of people at school saying, "I'm single, like I'm not with her anymore." She posts pictures to pretend like we're dating so that girls won't try to talk to me. "I'm single as hell, like she's crazy. I don't know why she's doing that. Like we've been broken up for a while." So now I'm here sitting out of high school while everyone in high school is hearing this story about me through him that's completely not true. So I have no way to get my point across or to tell anyone what's going on because it's his word against mine. We're not in school together anymore, so there's no way for me to tell people this, and it just makes me look crazy. So while he's doing this in school, I'm picking him up after school, and we're going out to get food and hang out like a couple does. So I don't understand. You're telling people you're single, but when you're out of school, we're together. That doesn't make any sense. then when we started going out places, he said, I can't bring my phone with me. I don't want to lose it. I'm going to keep it home. I don't need it when I'm with you. I don't need to be on it. And I'm just like, that's a little weird. Just bring your phone. You don't have to be on it, but bring your phone. Like, why can't you bring your phone when we go out somewhere? So we went out to get food. If we went out to go to do like bowling or something, he didn't want to bring his phone suddenly. And I was just like, right, well, that's really weird. You're hiding something. So it got to the point where we shared each other's locations, so when it went off, it was a little weird. So it went off, and I was just like, what the heck? So I wasn't with him this day, and his location went off, and I drove by his house, and I'm just like, where are you? You're not home. And he's still not texting me, and then his dad cuts my car off on the side where I parked and was like, get out of here, you're crazy, we filed papers, you're going down for this shit. Like, he's in my face, in my car, touching my door. And I'm like, what the hell is going on? Me and this kid are dating, and his dad is cutting me off saying we filed papers. His location went back on for a second before that, and he said he was at the courthouse, and he told me he was getting like a passport to go somewhere for a trip for a sport. But instead, he was getting restraining order papers, which made no sense to me because this kid lets me pick him up every day to go get food, and we're dating, yet now his dad's cutting me off saying you guys got paperwork. So I'm not understanding what's happening. And then I figured that that's happening. He's getting a restraining order. My dad tells me to cut off all communication. So I cut it all off, and it gets to the point where he's messaging me after he said he filed for a restraining order, and he's messaging me, trying to meet up with me, saying he's sorry for this, I'm going to fix it all. So after that happens, we're done for good. The restraining order never went into play. I never had charges against me. There was no reason for charges being put against me in the first place. This guy is like crazy, like a pathological liar. Like, everyone in high school believes him. All my old friends are now friends with him that he made fun of. He would call one of them really tall and look like a bunny. He would say that my family sister friend was a crazy slut who he wanted to slit her throat, and she was disgusting, and that she smelled. He would say that my other friends are just fake and they're all slutty. Somehow they're all slutty, so I wasn't allowed to have them. And now they all hang out with them, and some have even done stuff with him, which, okay, makes no sense because you didn't want to be my friend anymore because I was with him. Someone like that is just, I can't see anyone being friends with someone like that and being okay, because it's just like they're doing it for popularity, because he has friends, because he looks older. Like, I don't know why these people would ever want to associate with someone like him. It's just a lot of stuff went into play, and my whole social media just stopped, and I wasn't allowed to do what I was doing, and I just wasn't who I was anymore. So he would push me on the ground, I would lay there unconscious, and he'd be gone. And I wake up, and there's police. What's happening? What happened? And then he was just disrespectful to my family, who I lost my friends and family because of that. And that's pretty much how my social media and everything on YouTube was affected, and I am extremely sorry for that. And I know that things look different on camera and in pictures than they actually were in person, but that's the truth, and no one got to hear my side of the story, just his. So I just wanted to put that out there and apologize to anyone that I've hurt in the process, family that I have lost, and friends that I have lost, and everyone that became friends with him. You're fake. So congratulations on being friends with someone who's mentally and physically, psychologically fucked up and has so many issues. I just wanted to come and say that it's about 3 years, 2 years later, and I am happy without him. And I never thought that I could ever be done with such a person, and I am grateful that that paperwork came into play, even though it never went through, because I would never have been able to stop talking to him if I wasn't required to. And now that there's nothing saying we can't talk, I don't even want to talk to him. So like, I'm grateful that all this happened, and I want to apologize to all of you for leaving, and I am back, and I hope you guys are here to stay. Okay, bye.